We just saw Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, the Minister of Defense, Alhaji Muhammad Badaru, CON, and myself met with him earlier this afternoon, and we discussed three critical matters. Number one was we briefed him on the Minister of Defense and I's recent trip to China. We were in China on the 1st of January 2024. We were there till the 8th of January, and we met with the Luan Steel Group, which is one of the largest steel companies in China. It's the top 20 steel companies in China. They produce about 20 million metric tons of steel per annum. We had very meaningful discussions with them, the Minister of Defense and I, and they agreed and made a commitment to set up a new steel plant in Nigeria where thousands of jobs would be created, and they would invest billions of dollars in foreign direct investments into Nigeria. In that same regard as well, basically our discussions with the Luan Steel Group, they mentioned that they would send an advance team to Nigeria after the Chinese New Year, sometime in end of February 2024. And we briefed Mr. President that when the team is on ground, we would like to also give them audience with Mr. President, which he approved. Mr. President was very happy with the development. The third thing as well is that the reason the Minister of Defense and I jointly met with Mr. President was that we are setting up a military hardware capacity and capability in Ajokuta steel plant. And based on that, the Chinese people would help us the Chinese team would help us to build that hardware, military hardware capabilities in Ajokuta in one of the production units. So that's the first agenda on the table for the joint meeting. The second agenda for discussion with Mr. President was that Mr. President gave me approval towards the end of last year to raise some money to restart and rebuild the light steel mill of the Ajokuta steel plant to be able to produce iron rods, which iron rods would be taken by the Ministry of Works. The Minister of Works, Mr. Senator David Umahi, has already written a letter to me through his ministry guaranteeing that there will be off-takers in the iron rods that are being produced. Basically, the President, under the Renewed Hope agenda, which the Minister of Works is driving, plans to construct about 30,000 kilometers of road across Nigeria, where they will need about 7 million metric tons of iron rods. We can produce about 400,000 tons of those iron rods in Ajokuta if we're able to restart the steel plant. Mr. President gave approval for us to raise money locally. The first phase of the project for Ajokuta steel plant, to revive the entire steel plant will cost somewhere between $2 to $5 billion. However, to restart the light steel section of the mill is going to cost us about 35 billion naira. So we're going to the market to show proof of concept, to raise this money from financial institutions, local financial institutions, to be able to restart that. We've gotten some offer letters from some financial institutions, and we think that we should be able to conclude that in the next few days or few weeks for us to be able to hit the ground in Ajokuta and start that project. The last item on the agenda was feedback to Mr. President on Jindal Steel. If you recollect, at the sidelines of the G20 meeting in India, Jindal Steel committed to investing $5 billion. So I briefed Mr. President that I've met with representatives of Jindal Steel, and they are very serious about their commitment. And we're currently looking for a land that is close to gas stations, that has a port, and that is close to the natural or mineral resources such as iron ore and the likes, to be able to get them the ideal location. Either they set up a green field or they acquire an existing plant such as the Delta Steel plant. So those are the things on the table. Mr. President has given us go ahead to set up a committee with some very critical stakeholders within the government, including the likes of the Minister of Finance, the CME, including the likes of the Minister of Trade and Investments, including the Minister of Defense, Minister of Solid Minerals, and myself, to be able to get this thing running and get it off the ground. So the Renewed Hope agenda is here to stay. We think that if we're able to complete all these projects that has been approved by Mr. President, we should be able to, including the revival of Ajaokuta, we should be able to create northwards of 500,000 jobs and bring in billions of dollars into the economy. So Mr. President is very happy with that development, and the Minister of Defense and I, Alhaji Mohammed Badaru, and myself came to brief Mr. President this afternoon. Thank you very much. These are some of the things that needs to be clearly looked into. Like you mentioned, one of the things, I spoke to the MD of Ajaokuta today, and this was one of the questions I asked, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. Why consumption of so much electricity in a place that is not operating at full capacity? Part of what we also need to do is that we're trying to revive Ajaokuta in a collegiate system, in piecemeal. So we may not have the capacity to be able to pay all those outstanding amounts immediately. Part of what the MD of Ajaokuta told me is that most of that money is in interest payments, and NBET and the electricity company that has disconnected it is also a government agency. So if we as a government ministry, government agency are trying to revive Ajaokuta, working hard to do that, we should not have another hand within the same government making things very difficult for us. So part of what we plan to do is to sit down on the table in the next few days as quickly as possible to be able to come up with a plan so that they can put it back on the grid and put things back in order. It's a gradual process. Ajaokuta cannot be revived overnight. This is an institution. This is a plan that has not been working for 45 years. It's a difficult task to try and get it back on track. So we need the support of the entire government apparatus. We need support of stakeholders. We need support of everyone to be able to do this difficult job. This job is not a job that myself and Mr. President can do alone. We need the support of everyone, including the electricity company, to be able to help us to get this project back on track so that we can create the thousands, the hundreds of thousands of jobs that we want to create for Nigerians. Thank you very much. Thank you.